Well, that was snazzy. Very snazzy.
It was.
Hello,
Lovely
guys.
new intro.
Absolutely. I quite like that. I was tempted to play a game, but we will play it later on. Good evening, guys. Welcome back to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. This is, of course, your late Monday night edition of Devil's Advocate. Joining me tonight, a whole host of guests, stretching far and wide, and some of them are as daft as me. Obviously, joining me tonight is Mark, Stu, Kai, and David. How are you, lads? How are you?
How's it going?
Good, thank you very much, mate.
Yeah, good, Reese. Not bad, mate. It's a Monday evening, so it's always good, isn't it?
It's just that you're late, but it's okay, Reese. It's Mark's fault.
Everything's Mark's fault.
Yeah, always. If in doubt, blame Mark.
Yeah.
Universally agreed. He's got the beard. I've got the banter. That works. We'll go with that then. We will go with that. Mark's fault. I love it. Dave, I've not spoken in a wee while. I'm going to ask you as well, how you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm good.
He wants to kill me, guys. I'm not joking. He wants to kill me.
No. All reserved for Keen.
Well, now that makes me happy then. Okay. Tonight, obviously, is a very special edition of Devil's Advocate. Right now, United have got virtually nothing to play for. Unless Arsenal, Tottenham catastrophically slip up, United could get the top four. At the minute, I think we could all unanimously agree that we are out of the running. Obviously, the main central topic of discussion. I've had too much Pepsi Max tonight. That's my fault. Main central topic of discussion is, of course, Man United's managerial talk. Is it going to be Pochettino? Is it going to be Ten Haag? Conversations around Ralph Rangnick, the interim role, has it? And then obviously the consultant role. Is it just an absolute masquerade? And of course, the Paul Mitchell discussion. So we're just going to go through each year's one at a time. I just want to get your overall opinions. Firstly, on the conversation of Ten Hag versus Pochettino, and who do you think is the right man personally for you? And I'm going to ask, as a side option, who do you think is the best man for United overall? So, Mark, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, 6 of one, half a dozen for me. I think obviously a lot of us have seen Poch with what he's done at Spurs, and obviously Southampton did an amicable job there. He's not having the best of seasons at PSG, but again, as we already know, their structure is pretty shot. There's a lot of people that disagree above him, a bit like the Glazers, really, with obviously the management that we've had. And it's a bit of a toss-up for me. I mean, I would be happy with each of them. I think it's a double-edged sword, whoever you go with. I think with Ten Hag, obviously one of the hottest topics from a management perspective at the moment, has done excellent work at Ajax, and obviously he's been able to build a team with not so much funds. Now that obviously begs the question, can he come to United, which has probably 1, 2, 3, 4 superstars, I would say, or at least deemed to be superstars and egos? Is he able to come over and manage that type of ilk of player? I don't know. I feel that maybe the safest option for me would be Poch, purely on the basis that he's obviously managed, as I said, in England before. Now, I think that Poch is actually given too much criticism, personally, for me. I think he did a fantastic job. I think he, with the lack of funds that he had at the time with Spurs, he got them to an incredible place. And I think that if he was backed in that summer, once he got to the Champions League final, he would have gone on and continued to progress. I honestly believe that. And if you look at the type of players that Man United as well are hell-bent on from time to time with youth and the system and homegrown players, Pochettino has done that with various, number one being Harry Kane. Listen, we know his ability and how much he's performed, obviously, in the Premier League, and it's going to be 6 of one, half a dozen, as I said. I did see, obviously, Ornstein said that United are looking to make a decision within 2 to 3 weeks. That's obviously neither here nor there, and we will see if that does come to fruition. We're always spilled these PR things all the time. We've just had a bad run of football, and sometimes I think something comes out just to appease the fans. So we will see. The proof will certainly be in the pudding. But yeah, it's as I said, I would be happy with either. The way that I see it is if Poch goes to United and Ten Hag goes to City, I would be incredibly frightened of City, as we are anyway. But I just think that he will get the best out of a well-structured club with the funds at his disposal. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, certainly.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you on the fallback. Obviously, the key point there for what you just said there is structure, and I think the one thing he does have at Ajax is obviously due to mitigating circumstances. Obviously, Mark Overmars, the director of football, is gone. However, he was with Van der Sar very key in the structure for Ten Hag that supported him in 5 years now, I believe, in charge. The trophies he's won is spectacular. He's rebuilt his team twice after being ripped to pieces by big clubs such as Barcelona, Juventus, Chelsea. He continues to keep going. Obviously, people are going to say, "Oh, it's the Eredivisie. It's not exactly a competitive league in terms of the top. You would say the top 5 leagues, but what it does do." Year on year, it continuously produces top talent. It continuously produces managers of elite level that go and do well in the league. And obviously, you've mentioned Premier League experience. There's numerous managers that come into the league before and had no experience, and they've taken to the league like a duck to water, and they've done really well. Overall, I just want to get your opinion, because I know obviously at the moment you're over there in Holland, Dave. What's your overall opinion on Ten Hag as a manager? If you've been to live games, what's your overall opinion on him, and also what's your opinion on the managerial debate? Who do you think is the best one for United?
Yeah, so we'll start with the first half of that. I go to a lot. I live in Amsterdam. I go to a lot of Ajax games. I was at all of the home games in the Champions League group stage. I was at the Benfica game last week. I've been to several Eredivisie games already.
Were you at the derby at the weekend?
I was not at the weekend, unfortunately. I had too much work I had to get done. I actually have a deadline tomorrow morning, but neither here nor there. It's a more competitive league, I think, than people give a lot of credit for. You can see, especially this year, that it's quite tight at the top of the table. Now, is the overall quality of the league comparative to the Bundesliga? Of course it's not. But it's more competitive at the top than the Bundesliga is. So I think there's something to be said for that, because even though the level might be lower, you're still talking about a manager who's going into every single week needing 3 points. And that's the situation that Ajax has been in. Even a couple of years ago, when they had that ridiculous run in the Champions League with Frankie de Jong and Donny and Ziyech, even then you still had to perform in the league week in, week out. And so I think that does him a lot of favors in terms of moving into a bigger league. But I have to agree with Mark. I really think it's 6-1 at this point, because whether you have the managerial chops, whether you have the ability to manage egos or not, the reality is that Ten Hag is supported by the Ajax Foundation and has been his entire career in Amsterdam. He will not get that at United. United will force players on him. United will force players away from him. He'll tell the board, I need this guy, and they'll say, no, you're going to have this guy instead. I don't know that it really matters. I think on some level, Ten Hag is interesting because the system that he wants to play is almost identical to Rangnick's system. It's a high press. It's high intensity. It's a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2 diamond, kind of malleable in that. It's right there systematically, but he has had so much success with so much support in a club that's run the right way. I think he's setting up to fail coming to United. Now, I think everyone is setting up to fail coming to United, but I think Ten Hag specifically, because of how used to being supported he is at Ajax.
And and this is not a dig at Ten Hag, because I love him as a manager. I love the way he plays football. The job he done at Utrecht, for example, isn't spoken about enough. Fantastic at Utrecht. He was fantastic as the Bayern Munich 2 coach as well. He was also, I'm right in saying, he was not only was he the manager of Utrecht, he was also the director of football at one stage as well. So because he highlighted that, like, he has that experience. He referred to himself as a Dutch-German hybrid manager. He likes the German style, but he fits it around the total football way of Holland, and he likes the German style because it works in any league. You can add to it, and that's what I like about him. But you mentioned there about setting up to fail, particularly any manager at the moment. I would never want him or anyone to fail, but see, in terms of failing, could you see it being something not catastrophic, but something that could affect him mentally in terms of detrimental aspects? Also, that is an issue at United at the moment.
You mean as far as him personally?
Personally, yeah.
No, I don't think so, because he's very level-headed. So this is really interesting. You know, we all kind of complained a lot during Ollie's tenure that we weren't getting particularly honest feedback in press conferences, in post games. You know, it was very kind of like cheerleader, like rah rah, yay United, let's go Reds.
Yeah.
And whether you like Ollie or not, that was reality, right? He didn't talk tactics very much. Rangnick does a better job of talking tactics. The thing that everyone in Amsterdam loves so much about Ten Hag is that he is just perfectly blunt and honest. And he gets up in front of the camera, like when the Overmars thing came out. He got up 3 times that week. And he probably didn't have to do that, right? And some of these Dutch guys, very direct in the media, of course, Dutch being very direct people, he's applauded for that constantly because he's so forthright and so honest. And so I think on some level, United fans would really appreciate him from that perspective.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show the character of the man. So I don't think that he runs the risk of ruining himself.
You know what it's like, United. That's why I specifically had to ask. He is the one I would like to see. I remember an interview. I'll be coming to Kai in a minute because there's a few comments in the live chat that I think I'd like to get your opinion on. Just then back to you there, like, I remember an interview he did post-match. I think it was against Heracles and they won 5-0, and he went, "That's not good enough." And he's like, 5-0 is not good. 5-0 is not a good enough result. And I'm like, that's what I want. I want somebody who's like, I'm not even satisfied by 5. I want 6, 7, 8. But I want to get Kai your opinion on this. It's just a comment by Victoria's Secrets. I will be coming to your comments live chat in a minute, guys. I know I've neglected a wee bit, and it's not on purpose. And no,
really
Matt,
quick before you get on to Kai, there's whenever they talk about 5 goals isn't enough, there's a running joke in Amsterdam that anytime Ajax scores 10 or more, people jump in the canals.
Well, that's one good way to practice for the Olympics if you plan on going swimming. that certainly does work. Matt, I think we all unanimously agree Sam Allardyce couldn't do the job at Man United, but nice mention. But the question I wanted to get Kai your opinion on it, because this is Victoria's Secret's opinion. He's saying he'd be seriously underwhelmed if we got Pochettino. His stint at PSG has shown that he is overrated as a manager. Now, Mark did allude earlier on, which I think is very fair, the work that he's done, particularly at Spurs, Southampton. I'm also going to throw in Espanyol as well, because obviously he did beat Guardiola's team that won the treble in Guardiola's first season. So there's a beautiful reminder to Barcelona fans. Kai, what's your on the back of Victoria's Secret's comment, he's saying he'd be seriously underwhelmed. What's your thoughts on the managerial debate? Poch, Ten Hag, or do you flip the script? Do you go for a different option? What's your opinion?
All right, so this one's an interesting one. Firstly, hi David. I also live in the Netherlands, and we should meet up one day. So
absolutely,
what's up? And I mean, the country is only 3 hours long, so how far could you be? You know, you couldn't be that far.
But, bit of geography for you.
I'm useless at that.
So what I think is, okay, so firstly, for me with Ten Hag, I don't know, maybe David, how you see this, but when I look at the Netherlands type of league, the vibe and the what actually happens, it's more like a purist type of league. So they like to play football the right way. to a certain detriment, right? So essentially, we shall play like this because this is what Johan Cruyff said, or this is how pure football is. So we shall all play 4-3-3. We shall play a variation of the 4-3-3, and we shan't really experiment too much with anything else. Hence, their players are always kind of the same thing. This lovely winger, inside forward type of player. And I think because Europe isn't like that, a lot of managers which win a lot of leagues with Ajax, for example, don't end up doing that well elsewhere because it's not so pure in other countries. Like, as you can see, for example, PSG, it's not as cut and dry as here's a formation and here's how you play. There's a whole lot more that is going into this. There's a lot of massaging of egos. There's a lot of talking to families, even, having to talk to Mbappe's family, like, okay, listen, I'm so sorry about the fact that I said this and that. The next game he's going to play whenever he wants, things like that, And also then you look at United and you're talking about the support that he has right now. Just looking at not even the club itself, but just looking at the optics. So the media, for example, they will also drain you, right? Because what we're seeing is, for example, let's say Arteta and Xavi, for example, the media narrative for them has allowed them to build their teams at a good rate without having too much, going on around it. And the other managers which have tried to build a team, let's say, I don't know, someone like Ole, for example, it's always a whole lot of other things that he's having to deal with every single day. And this is the type of thing which Ten Hag is going to have to, or he's going to have to, try and deal with the fact that there's a whole lot of other discussions happening behind the scenes, but he just wants to talk about the football. He just wants to talk about how do we get this team to, to play actual football. But there's a whole lot of other conversations happening. Pogba's contract and this person did this and this person did that. So I think those are the issues which you'll face. And I think Poch is the same type of thing, where he'll arrive there and and you can see he's not super, he doesn't have so much presence so as to say, like, you can see it now at PSG, he's struggling to say something to these players. So unless we as a club are willing to rip up how we've been doing things completely, not even just to add on to things, because if we now add on to Scott McTominay and then add on to Maguire and then add on to all of this, then we're never going to fully complete a rebuild. We're going to still have Maguire for captaincy in 10 years, and he's going to have a testimonial with us, and we're still going to be going on the loop because he costs too much and you can't get rid of him. So, yeah. Sorry, David.
If Harry Maguire has a testimonial, do you think that he'll score an own goal in it just for old time's sake?
I don't know. You might just.
Just to appease the fans, man.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
There's one way to find out, and we'll be asking that the perfect person very shortly. Please continue, Kat.
Yeah. So yeah, no. So that's just my thoughts, really. That there's a lot more that's coming with this United post, unless we're willing to say, for example, if Ragnick is willing to say, okay, me and Fletcher are dealing with football things over here, and Paul Mitchell or something like that, and we are gonna go a certain way, and we are willing to say, Phil Jones, thanks a lot, bro. It's been nice. Like, I promise you, you've been cool. Jesse Lingard, bro, you've been great. We love you. Even to a certain extent, like, I know sometimes it might hurt people and I love him so much, but to say, yo, Marcus, the way that we're going, you're an extra forward that plays too similar to this person. So you may not be required. You may need to look somewhere else. Like, those are tough things that we may have to, start to ask ourselves, and they have to follow a certain plan if they have to go that way, or else we're going to be in this managerial loop again. I promise. We said this before, actually, with Ole. We sat here and we talked exactly about the same thing. And unless they are willing to follow a way, we're just going to be here again.
But they're not.
And,
yeah, I understand that. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's a very fair response. We did mention testimonials. There is, of course, obviously, in terms of football-wise, Stu is on the show. Good speaking to you, mate. Couple of questions for you. Obviously, would Harry Maguire score an own goal in a testimonial for time's sake? I'd like to get your opinion on that one. But also, I do have a question for you. I'd also like to give you as well. So, obviously, the managerial debate and also Matt's question. Matt asks, are Manchester United in a situation now where the manager isn't the problem? Kind of the same situation as Everton, where they have a jigsaw puzzle, but there's a few pieces missing. So could you please also answer those 3 questions in any order you wish?
Yeah, I'll go with Matt first because Matt's actually right. He is right. We've got a way bigger problem than just a managerial issue. And the problem is that most fans look at football from afar. We talk about tactics and we talk about formation. And everybody knows that a team will set up in a certain way. Now, after about 5 minutes, it's gone. It's gone completely out the window because you attack completely differently compared to what you're supposedly learnt on your tactics board. But you will defend in a 4-4-2 all the time. You will always defend in a 4-4-2. And herein lies the problem with what a lot of fans perceive to be a tactically astute manager, as opposed to fans that don't think a manager is tactically astute. And it just doesn't work like that. I mean, I know, Kai, you've kicked a ball, Mark. I'm sure you have, David. As soon as you take the pitch, as long as you take care of your own segment, and I speak about this all the time, you're doing your job. Only individual players can affect what happens in a football match. As long as you're there beating your own man or making sure that your particular area is concrete and solid, and you then can rely on your colleagues, so to speak, to make sure their areas are concrete and solid. The manager has very little effect once you cross that white line. Okay, when you go back over that white line again, that's where he's supposed to earn his coin. Well, a good solid group of professionals will speak alongside the manager. They won't just shut up and listen and see what he's got to say. They'll speak alongside him and say, well, hold on. We know for 10 minutes we've been absolutely battered down the right. And Mr. Rashford, I'm afraid, you decided to tie your shoelaces on the 18-yard box of the opposition rather than coming back the 25 yards. I need you. Now, that's been worked on in training. But unless Luke Shaw or Alex Telles is screaming at him or grabbing him by his collar and pulling him back, the there's very little that the manager can do. Look, it's a very crude example of football, but ultimately that's what happens. What I like about Ten Haag is he's quite fluid in his play. And I think you guys have summed it up quite well. He'll go from a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1, a 4-4-2, an 8-10-12, a 16-14. It makes no difference. What he does do, though, and where he drills his side properly, is the pendulum effect. Now, you watch an Ajax team, they will move up beautifully together and they will come back beautifully together. It's what I call the pendulum effect. And when I coach under 8s or whatever, I teach them to do the pendulum effect with music. You've got to teach kids with a bit of fun, put a fun element to it. But that's ultimately what a good setup is about, is just the pendulum effect. Moving up as a unit and coming back as a unit. Because if you attack as a unit and defend as a unit, you become very, very difficult to break down. Hence Ten Hag's goal scoring exploits. I think they scored it. I don't know what they've scored this season.
It's like 120 goals all season.
They're ridiculous. They're very high scoring unit, and they do it together. And that is a very, very difficult discipline to teach and get into a group of professionals that have never dealt with that in the past. Look, I have an argument. Well, it's not an argument. I have disagreements with fans who say it's coaching this, it's coaching that. And I always turn around and I say, and Kai knows this because he laughs at me, but I've always turned around and say, what do you expect to coach somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo? What do you expect to coach, a player that's been there for 10 years at the highest level of football? It's not about coaching. He knows the game inside out. It's about getting the best of him, getting the best of Rashford, getting the best of Sancho, Maguire, blah, 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 playing together as a unit. And that's why I think Ten Hag can do it. And I'm not convinced that Pochettino can. And I think it's proven. Sorry, I'll be one sec, dude. I think it's proven at the minute with egos. People talk about egos within the PSG squad. They have got a brilliant side. You know, Verratti is absolutely brilliant central midfielder. He's absolutely brilliant. He makes them tick. But then you've got that moron Neymar who'll get it. And instead of doing the simple, basic stuff, you want to do a bit of a flick. You want to take on 5 players. You know, I'm playing with him. I'm telling him to do one. I don't want him on my side. Get stuffed. You know, go and play Sunday League if you want to do that. I want him to be able to get the ball, bring me into play, drop it off to me. I'll pop it off to Mbappe. Well, I've done that. I want that tall Neymar to be in this, you know, to be on the penalty spot, waiting for Mbappe's cross. He doesn't do any of that. And that is just basic football. That's not even anything you've got to.
I agree with you.
And I don't know if I can just add this. Sorry, Reese.
On you go, by all means.
So I just want to say, and just on that PSG thing, I find some parallels really interesting as well with Poch. So he's got 2 keepers, which are number ones, and they are equally fantastic. And he's had a chance to get rid of one of them. He didn't. He decided to sign one and then just keep them. And then we've got 2 keepers who one is, one is good at this and the other one is completely on the other spectrum. I don't know, someone decided to keep both of them, and then now one is probably getting offered another contract very soon. So he's shown already he's not even able to deal with that one, and that was an easy one for him. If you get Donnarumma, then you can get rid of Navas. It was like such a simple one that he could just move without a problem. And on just a second one on Poch as well, he had every chance now to, as well as that, because firstly, Paris is one of the highest talent pools for footballers in the world, right? And also at PSG as well. I mean, Christopher Nkunku has been shown absolutely no love. And now he's on, 25 goals and assists or something like that, something ridiculous. But he also had a chance to say, yo, bro, I love you so much. I like how you play. Because he's also like a Poch type of player. Stay, we're going to let you start over here. And they have Areola. Exactly. There you go. So, I mean, I just find it difficult to understand how Poch had every chance to use a lot of Parisian talent, especially in the midfield, a lot of strong midfielders. You could have signed any midfielder he wants in France that plays number 6 or plays 8 or whatever. And then he ended up with Idrissa Gueye, Herrera, and that other lad from Portugal. And that's my thing. Like, he had every chance to build a team with a lot of money and still have his stars, but do everything else just behind them. And he didn't.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Do you want to follow up?
Yeah, I am, because herein lies the issue. And I talk a lot, as you know, Reese. But one of the big things for me about squad building is sometimes you don't have to go out. Like Dybala's on the scene at the minute. He's going on a free for Juventus. So United should go and grab him. What for? What are we going to do with him? What are we going to do with Dybala? See, there are players.
But that's the type of thing they'll do.
No, that's right.
The annoying thing is, though, is I know you guys disagree with the signing, but I love Dybala. I would have him in a heartbeat. But I want United to get it right, though. I want it to get it right.
He's brilliant, but Stu's right. Where are you going to play him?
Yeah,
and whose minutes is he taking?
I've seen that a lot today.
It's the same. It's like the same thing. You're going to sign Dybala, another guy who likes to cut in and shoot, or another guy who likes to shoot and doesn't like to create. Another one. Just a different version of him.
And that's where we need to change things, to be honest. That's where we need to change things. That's 100% what we need to change this summer. You're absolutely right. We need to start looking at players that aren't going to give us the commercial value, that are going to come in, tick the boxes, and be able to fit in the squad that we need. Now, if we are going to bring either Poch or Ten Haag or whoever that may be in the summer, and we don't change that structural process and get the players and sell the players that they want, then we are not serious enough, and it's going to be a rigmarole over and over again.
It's never going to happen.
This right here is done. This right here, Keane, he's actually mentioned the one guy I want this summer.
Yeah. I thought we'd lost out on him. I thought he'd signed a contract to Bayern Munich, hasn't he?
You don't want him yet.
Why do you want another madman in the dressing room?
I love Anthony. I love Anthony.
Not ready. Okay, listen. Kai knows that I'm right. Okay,
I think he needs another. I think another year. I think another year is there. I I think that's a fair call. I think maybe another year, but he's shown what he's done in Europe. He's capable. The only thing is time. I get that. I think a lot of people would prefer Rafinha.
What we've got to do is
he disappeared against Benfica both games.
Yeah,
true.
He completely disappeared in the Classicer at the weekend, except popping up in the 87th minute to score the winner, which was great. But it's it was like his only decent touch of the game. So
look at Memphis.
That's what we've got to do is
Memphis as well. Like
yeah,
it's tough. It's not that easy to just go. And with Anthony, he has to have a great game. Like it's tough in the Premier League. Like when they're crunching you and it's tough out there. That's all I can say. It's not as easy as and the mental shift as well to do.
It needs to be.
Can I respond to something that Stu said?
Yeah. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I'll finish.
Comment, David.
Something that you said really resonated with me. We're talking about Ronaldo, and you can't coach him because he's 25 years in the game and he knows what are you going to tell him? You're absolutely right, and I feel like that is a really interesting microcosm for the entirety of the problem that is Manchester United right now. It's that you legitimately have guys like Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay and Marcus Rashford who think they're that good. They genuinely think they are that good. And they're not even close. And I start to wonder, how does that happen? Right? Because you don't see, Man City doesn't have that problem. Chelsea doesn't have that problem. Arsenal doesn't have that problem. We're the only club that has that problem. And why is that? It's not the manager. It's not the fans. Who's telling them they're that good? Who's telling Harry Maguire every week, oh yeah, mate, you kick on. You kick on. Yeah, go ahead and kick it into your own goal. It's unbelievable.
I think that's a fair point. In terms of the comment, I think that's fair. And there's actually another comment that just came in, and I'm going to bring up in just a second because that's another great comment by the live chat. Matt saying Ronaldo needs to go, Cavani needs to go, and I'll go out of the way and say Rashford needs to go and replaced by a young up-and-coming talent. Press the Arsenal rebuild button, lads. Fair comment. And on the flip side, you can then use another club which is over 1 billion euros in debt, just like United, except we're in the pound sterling side, not the euros. Barcelona. They just battered their great rivals last night. They're in a rebuild, and look what they've done.
But guys, it's not as simple as that, remember, because United fans cannot handle 3 years of a rebuild without being at each other's throats, without the support of. And I remember I was talking about the crucial thing here, the support of all outside factors. So the support of, even if Arteta gets drilled 4-0, the fact that there will be articles, the whole narrative is, this guy, don't worry, he's a Spanish maestro, he's a genius, he played under Pep, he's got this. And I think that amount of time then allows your club as well to be like, okay, there's no noise that's worth us really moving the needle too much. And that is why Arsenal were able to get through the pain, because the pain was so much for Arsenal. We were killing them for all their defeats. Every time they faced a big team, we knew it was 5-0. I was getting ready for AFTV. I still loved it. Now I haven't even gone once to AFTV, for the last 3 months. I haven't one time gone there because I don't even want to see it. I don't want to see the happy faces, Barcelona was the same. When Xavi started, everyone, was like, no, don't worry. He's got this. Don't worry. He's got this, until a certain point whereby he was actually allowed to work his magic, allowed to bring in the young guys, allowed to suffer a bit. And I think that's the struggle that we have. We have this thing, the superiority complex, which says we are Manchester United, therefore success has to come right now. But like I was saying, if you rip it all up and you say, Ghana, come in the team, another kid, the technical players, let's try, we don't even have enough balls to play the youth technical players in our midfield. Where are they? We don't know where they are. They just end up somewhere else. We only like pace, power in that midfield is the only way you're getting in the midfield if you grow real tall and big and you can fight against guys. But we will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, 10 times better than us. We will never drop a guy in there who is, a proper midfielder who can play that position and try him out, because we can't do that. We don't have time to do that. We need to go sign somebody, somewhere. So I think that is, for me, the fundamental problem here, that the environment already doesn't help United. Plus, we don't know how to suffer for a rebuild. Yeah. Most of us have never been through a rebuild. So
we've been saying.
I might argue with that.
Oh yeah, of course, the third one.
We've been on like one,
yes.
It's been like a year unannounced rebuild.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
I've seen
but I just mean, yeah, in general, like, I mean, we need a manager, like, for example, as well as that, the former managers that these clubs are getting are people that a lot of guys just generally like, Xavi, everyone liked him. Arteta, everyone already liked him. So the narratives were pretty much on point. Pirlo, I was hearing guys saying Pirlo wrote a thesis. He hadn't even passed when he was playing for Juventus, but guys were giving him praise. So the environments also play a role in the United managers thriving or not, to a certain extent, in a rebuild.
They do, but where is the balls?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no
a good manager can manage anywhere, because fundamentally it doesn't matter what league you're playing to. Believe it or not, football is football. That's it. Period. You score more goals than your opposition. The end. That's what football is. And the fans, certainly of today, and look, I'm a legacy fan. I mean, in fact, we were the first to bring it up, weren't we, Mark? Legacy fans. We had a discussion on it even before it became a thing, because, like, my lad's 21 and he grew up through FIFA. He grew up through CDM and CF and all this kind of absolute rubbish that it is. And so what's happened is, the modern day fan, and I feel a bit sorry for the modern day fan that lived through Sir Alex Ferguson's era, because you can't help when you're born. But look, I went to my first game in '77, so I understand the trajectory the club's going through. I understand exactly where we are. And if we lose a game of football, it is what it is for me. And if we don't win another trophy for 5 years, I've been there, I've seen it. I've been through the hardship of it, And unfortunately, the modern day fan, as Kai said, can't grasp it, doesn't get it. We should be winning. I've seen us win for 10 years. What's going on? Liverpool fans just recently and they're highly likely to do the quadruple this year, Liverpool are, if we're being realistic about the way they're playing football at this point in time. They went through 30 years without even seeing a Premier League title or a Division 1 title, whatever you want to call it. And do you know what they did better than anybody, better than City, better than anybody? They got players that weren't household names and sprinkled them with stardust. That's what they did. And I said on a podcast 12 months ago, we should have started looking at a player of the ilk of Connor Cody. And people absolutely slashed me. It's Connor Cody, you've got no aspirations. But I was talking about not only his leadership qualities, not only how vocal he is, but he's able to coach players on the field. Look what he's done to Max Coleman. Now, we have not got that, not at all. Nobody in our club, in our first 11, whoever it may be, can do that. Can get hold of a player and say, look, I need you to step 10 yards, mate. Just listen to me. I'll guide you through the game. They don't do that, and that's basic football again, lads. I'm sorry to... I'm sorry to bring it up.
I've seen them. They try to do it. I've seen them, but it's always so funny because the lack of communication. Because
it's rubbish.
There is that communication factor, right, on the football pitch, and it also comes with chemistry and knowing each other, and also loving each other on the pitch, and wanting to do well with each other. And sometimes it's so funny. Like, I'll see Pogba saying to someone, "Yo, dude, go cover left. Go." You can see him pointing. Go. And the guy just says, "Nah." And before you know it, it's like, bam, bam, it's right through. And the thing is, because I also coach, right? And I'm sure you guys also coach. And, you view the game from a different lens now, at this stage, than when you were really watching it as a fan. You don't really see much as a fan except goals, attacks. But now you're seeing some of the small things, whatever. And you're like, but I can see the gap. I can see the passing lane. It's very obvious. This guy's saying, go cover there. And literally the guy looks the other way, and then takes a step left and then it opens up even more, and then realizes, turns around, and then it's
whoever that was a bit of a diva.
yeah, wow. It's every game, and the thing is, you can see them pointing at each other. Go over there, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I get the idea, but it's like 3 seconds too late every single time.
And there's a lot of reflections. There's a lot of reflections that like. There's one perfect example, funnily enough, and it's Man United versus Newcastle. Harry Maguire, like an absolute buffoon, trying to tell, like, all due respect, like, buffoon is the right way here. He is trying to organise his defence to stop Alan Saint-Maximin, one of the quickest players in the league, and he's telling him, go here, go here. He's pointing at him, saying, you cover this, man. And I'm like, stick your fucking foot out. Like, I'll say what I want on this channel. Stick your fucking foot out. If he's got a bigger frame than him. If you have to, batter the fucker. I don't care. Get stuck in. I would rather United concede like a free kick on the edge of the box than say Maximin getting the easiest chance he did. He got past him easily. And what happened? Bang, goal. Purely because Maguire's trying to go, you here, you here.
You do know that.
Organise a defence, mate. You shouldn't be doing it, period.
Right. You are
it's
right.
happening in real time. That's why.
You know the away,
Exactly.
but you know the away game. You know Varane did the same thing. Varane
I know
ball
that's the worst. I know like, they're so bad
Varane
for
ball's
it.
got big time for their goal.
Yeah,
You know, everyone's giving Varane the big one, and he's like, all he got to
he's
do
had a
is
few howlers.
he
He's had a
backed
few
off.
howlers. Yeah.
If he backed off 3 yards and allowed Saint-Maximin, i.e., give him an option A to shoot, which chances are Day is gonna save.
Yes.
B, take me on. In that case, I'm just going to body check you out of the way. Or C, you've got to pass it to Marquinhos, sorry. But
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have been anywhere near striking distance. It could have been too far wide. Look,
Yeah.
I'm a centre half, an amateur centre half, and I can fucking see that. I can
That's
see
like-
that all day
that's like-
long.
I
It's
agree
like
with you.
watching us defend and on the right hand side, right? Like the last 3 games is hilarious. Like you can
Yeah.
Scott McTominay gets sucked in there, and literally you can see them. I don't know what's happening. It's
Up across.
so easy. It's like we're just running the absolute wrong direction. Because I'm sure someone is saying, go there, and then this guy is saying, oh no, but there's no one there, and then it's just like,
even better. The Southampton goal.
Oh
The,
no, please no.
Yeah, so I'll just do a quick version of Varane, shall I? Oh, I'll just have a look. Oh, Che Adams is there. There's a massive gap there, but I'll go to Eliezer, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Really?
And that says all really
Back up
about
2
United's
yards,
issues.
right? So it isn't just. I know, David. There's a lot of Maguire bashing going on. You see, I'm a centre half, mate, so I get the position. And Maguire's problem is, and I don't want to, look, he's had a bad time this year. He really has. But his problem is yardage in between him and the central midfielder and the goalkeeper. That's his problem. When Henderson plays, the goalkeeper yardage between him and Maguire, it cuts it out because Henderson will come out to the 12 yard spot, whereas De Gea stands on his line. So he hasn't got that. He hasn't got that worldy kind of I'm going to punch you out the way type mentality of a goalkeeper that you need. He's quite timid as De Gea, and it's a big thing for a centre half. Now, I don't think it is contentious this, and I've said it before. Mark and Kai know this. Varane and Maguire don't work for me. They just don't work. There's a massive problem.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying.
I really thought they would actually.
The
I was
idea
so wrong about that.
Yeah, but they don't. And the problem we've got, guys, is do you take Varane out of the equation and put Maguire in, or do you take Maguire out of the equation and put Varane in? No, none of them, including Lindelof, really have set the world alight. So the problem is, what do? You change the goalkeeper. It'll be a completely different proposition for our 2 centre halves, I promise you, and the central midfielder. I promise you guys.
For me, the problem with Maguire is not. Yes, his coverage getting back is a problem, but for me at least, the bigger problem is that he's just shit at football.
I think what you mean is his decision making at vital times, which is pretty much in every game, he picks the wrong one. It's like in his mind there's 2 buttons, and it's like dive in.
Let me tell you why.
Don't dive in, and then he
It seems-
doesn't know.
it seems-
so he
It's
just
like a
says,
matrix.
It seems to
Yeah.
be the new thing now. It
Let me
seems
tell
to
you,
be.
let me
But
tell
don't
you
you
why.
guys think this is
And
endemic of the issues at Manchester United? Is it
yeah, of course it is.
where did what other club in the Premier League, or you know what? I'll challenge everyone on this panel and everyone in the comments. Name me 3 clubs in England. I don't care. League One, Championship, Premier League. I don't care. Name me 3 clubs where Harry Maguire starts.
No, but that's an unfair question to ask, though.
Yeah,
because-
I'm not really sure that's the question. I'll
because
tell you what, it's the answer. Let me tell you what the answer is, just briefly, just quickly. The reason Maguire is
Luton.
making mistakes
That's
is
the answer.
because you've got Varane and Maguire like that when they should be like that. They're not tight enough for a start, okay? And then you've got McTominay or our central midfielder who should be 10 yards in front of them, is 20 yards in front of them. And therein lies the issue. You've got yardage from our central midfielder to our centre halves and vice versa at the back. And Trevor makes a really good point about him being a shot stopper. There's more to being a goalkeeper than just a shot stopper.
and
I need
you
you
know,
off the line.
It does make a.
I
I
think
will
our
bring
best,
up.
I think our best defensive pairing is Varane and Lindelof. That's my opinion.
No. Everyone,
I
like
agree.
I say, that's
I
the beauty of
agree.
football.
Can I say on that shot stopping thing, on the goalkeeper thing? I was watching the Real Madrid game, or rather, I watched some Real Madrid games because I don't know, I like them for some reason. Because
Me as well.
Karim Benzema is the best striker ever. Sorry, R9 fans. No, I'm just joking. But I think
We would have had words. We would have had words on that comment.
Yes, I know. No, listen, I just mean Benzema
Right
is
to
fan-
opinion. Right
you
to
know,
opinion,
he's-
though, of course.
He's
but
just
yeah.
a fantastic striker.
Yes,
But in terms of goalkeepers, a lot of people, argue. Obviously, I also say that this is not De Gea's era in terms of if you want to be at the top. In if you want to play a certain way and be at the top, this is not De Gea's era. And a lot of people say, yeah, but like his game is literally just shot stopping, and he does his job basically. That's what goalkeepers should do, and all of that. I was watching Madrid and I was looking at Courtois and I was saying it's quite interesting because he is a little bit of both. But what you can see with Courtois is he is so big and he's so dominant that what Real Madrid needs actually in their team is, because they play a mid sort of block and they don't really press too much. So they need a keeper who owns everything, who
Absolutely.
who can't have flaws in the box as his own, because they concede a lot of chances. And then you look at De Gea, then you say, okay, fine. But shot stopping is the only thing which he's good at right now. So even then, Courtois is a similar keeper by that he's not really a person who plays with build-up. He likes to clear the ball long a lot, and his distribution isn't the greatest. But he doesn't lack the presence and the things which people don't really like to discuss outside of the stats, like carrying the ball, being able to punch, getting your team out of trouble, concentration, that type of a thing. And I think that's always going to set us back, right? I don't know if De Gea for another 5 years is going to do even Maguire, because if he had Courtois, I'm telling you, half those chances, Courtois pushes Maguire out the way, pushes the other guy, punches the other guy in the head, and grabs the ball and lies on the ground.
I agree with you.
And then
Even Mark agrees with that, don't you, Mark?
Yeah, we've spoken about this many times, haven't we?
Yeah.
The goalkeeping
I had to eat my
situation.
words.
I think the football's changed. Football evolves all the time, and consistently, it's a cyclical thing. And you're seeing most clubs.
Cyclical? What are you doing on here with a word like cyclical? Christ,
I'm full of big words all the time, mate.
Have you got your dictionary? Have you got your dictionary open on your screen?
I've got my thesaurus to the right of me. Yeah.
It's because I'm hosting, lads. He's trying to impress.
No, that's all.
Spell it, Mark.
Sorry,
No, seriously, It is. The game evolves all the time, and I just feel that a goalkeeper like David De Gea, whilst he does some fantastic things, you look at other teams like Edison, Allison. They're all very commanding. They're all very good distributors of the ball, and that's something that David De Gea isn't. He saves obviously a huge amount, has kept us up in a lot of areas, but I do feel that a lot of his mistakes are what leads to him having to make those saves, and
we praise it.
Need to. Yes, well, listen. Obviously, if he keeps them out, makes blinding saves, absolutely, we have to praise it. But if he's the master of his own downfall,
but
that's why I had to eat my words, because obviously we were on Talk of the Devils last week, and I spoke about how I originally thought maybe De Gea at the time because I didn't trust Henderson. I still don't trust either goalkeeper. I said in the summer we should have sold both and got Donnarumma, and I don't care if it was a Riola client. I would have had Donnarumma. I would have still taken Ter Stegen from Barcelona. I think that's the type of keeper we need going forward, and I think that I see error of my ways, of course, but I still hold the fact that I don't rate Henderson. De Gea's not what he used to be. We should have sold them both in the summer. That's my view.
You know, Reese, it's funny because when De Gea makes a mistake, on the other hand, it affects how we play going forward, right?
Yeah,
and you see the problems in that way. And then when he kicks the ball directly to an opponent, then we directly see the problems that we have defensively immediately. So it's really like this big cycle with United whereby it goes into De Gea, clears it, and then we see the problems because it comes straight back again. Then he saves it, and then we say fantastic, and then we go through the same cycle again. And I'm like, I mean, this is pain. I'm in Spain, and the S is silent. You know, it's
I do agree with you, and I do like if United do want to do this, like this is the thing. I'm going to come to Keane's question in a minute, but I'm going to say this last point before we move on to Keane's question because I think it's a really good one. If we get Pochettino, De Gea's number one. If we get Ten Hag, either De Gea goes and Henderson's number one, or both are gone. End of.
If we get Poch, just hypothetically,
De Gea will stay number one.
If we get Poch, do you not think he'll bring Navas in?
No.
You don't think?
Although I love Navas, but I don't think it'll happen.
Okay. Hang on. That presumes that the board is going to listen to either Ten Hag or Pochettino, which neither one of those things is going to happen. So what you're probably going to wind up with is, like you said, if it's Ten Hag, it should be Henderson. If it's Poch, it should be De Gea. But what's going to really happen is it's going to be the opposite. Is that you're going to get Poch and they're going to give him the wrong keeper, or you're going to get Ten Hag and they're going to give him the wrong keper.
And
because
then
you're not
have a 5-year contract, though, guys.
Because you have a board who does not care about winning. That's where we're at.
He's going to get a big contract, no? So, I mean, how do you then get rid of him?
Apparently so he is, isn't he?
Yeah.
So you can't really, and who's going to buy?
I disagree with it.
But
I do disagree with it.
Surely we shouldn't be making moves like that until we know exactly what's happening. I know, obviously, they've probably got a mind, an eye on who they want, or maybe even something's agreed. But
yeah, I'd imagine.
Does that not say a lot about maybe the next manager? I saw the other day after Ornstein had tweeted about Ten Hag. I saw a French outlet suggesting that Poch was ready to stay at PSG. He just wanted to see that PSG and everyone above him saw his idealisms and supported his philosophy. So if that's anything to go by,
I saw that.
Maybe Ten Hag's done. Who knows?
Agreed. I like the prospect of both, like whoever comes in. But to be honest, the manager I want is currently managing who I think is potentially going to go and win the World Cup, and that's Spain. Although I don't think they'll win. I think they've got a very good chance. The man I want is Enrique, and I don't change my mind.
If Ten Hag, if we sleep on Ten Hag and he ends up at City, remember Pep is going to leave very soon. 2023, Pep is out. And you know how City are, they start planning early. So if they already say, okay, cool, we see it here, then I think we're done again for another 10 years. So,
and it's only two.
So I mean, like for us, we need to get the best manager for the next few years early, right? Before Pep decides to leave, and then we can actually then try and win something again. And get in some sort of a cycle, because the difference between everyone and everything is Pep and Klopp. It's pretty much close to that simple also. Like,
absolutely. No, I agree. I agree with you 100%. And speaking of other managers, of course, we're going to flip away from Man United just for a few minutes, so you can all relax. We don't have to talk about Man United for a little while, but we are going to talk about our greatest goal scorer, who is rumoured to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And of course, Keane's question: thoughts on Wayne Rooney potentially going into the Premier League Hall of Fame? And I'm going to come to Mark first, as I've not heard you speak in a wee while. So, Mark, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. I mean, he's got to be up there with one of the greatest the Premier League has ever seen. He's one of my favourite players. He's obviously the record goal scorer for United. Now, I know stats don't always tell a story, but he has the most goals for United, which was an incredible thing to do, and also the greatest goal scorer for England. He was... I think I took Rooney for granted, actually. I think he was such... a workhorse, was good technically, and got us out of a lot of issues, and still continued to bring the team out of desperation all the way up until the very end. He was the one player that was left standing, really, and I think that after he left, not that he wasn't right to leave, he certainly had gone past his best, but we lost that sort of mentality within the dressing room. But yeah, for me, I mean, Wayne Rooney, quite an incredible player, one of the best for me as well, and absolutely wholeheartedly deserves it.
Stu, follow up on that one?
I'm
gonna flip it on you, actually, because this is something I really... Is it too soon?
Reece, I'm not interested in the Hall of Fame at all, pal. I don't get it.
Love it.
Make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense
to
me.
That is a man's answer. That is a manly answer.
Yeah,
Just don't care.
I'm not interested in it. When we had a debate a while ago, and was, you think the Hall of Fame? Oh, for fuck's sake, really? Seriously? I get it. There are certain elements, the Hall of Fame, that America do with, baseball, basketball. I get all of that. I do. And I'm not saying that those sports don't have any rich history, but football's got such a rich tapestry of players that there are absolutely been gods in their day. And I don't even like calling a player world class, as you well know. Again, that doesn't mean anything to me.
You prefer poser?
I prefer poser, like Cancelo, poser, Rodri, poser. I go on forever. But I don't get the Hall of Fame. It doesn't do it for me. I don't understand it. I don't know what the criteria is to get into it. I don't know why one player should get in over another. Somebody's already been on here saying if Rooney's in it, why isn't Aguero? Type of thing. So we're going to have this debate all night. But for me, not for me.
I think from the Premier League's perspective, it's just another money spinner. It's just another way to attract.
I've never been
a little bit of commercial value. Nah, it means nothing. I mean, we could do this. Why aren't we doing it for the
Andrei
leagues prior to the Premier League? Yeah,
Andrei Shevchenko, one of the greatest strikers of his day, of his generation. Came to the Premier League. He couldn't make it in the Premier League. Probably won't even get anywhere near the Hall of Fame. Do me a favour. Look at the quality of that striker. Come on. That's how I think anyway. Torres. Fernando Torres is another great example. Did it at Liverpool, couldn't do it at Chelsea. He's probably nowhere near the Hall of Fame. I don't understand it for me. I'm old though. I'm old.
Well, it's all in the name, right?
As the resident American, I feel compelled to chime in here.
I would love your opinion. There's only one Hall of Fame I watch. I only watch one Hall of Fame, and that's in a couple of weeks. But David, on to you.
The Professional Baseball Hall of Fame in America was founded in 1936.
Oh, there you go then.
And that should say
that says it all. It does. It says everything.
Should say everything.
Yeah, it does.
It's a part of that tapestry of baseball, and it always has been for 3 generations. To establish a new Hall of Fame in 2020, if we're being honest, this is the legacy of American owners in the Premier League. That's what they've given you guys. So thank them because it's.
But also, if you just look at the name, like, I mean, look, I don't think fame is on the top of a lot of footballers' lists. So, for example, some of the best footballers don't specifically look for, fame as their biggest thing, like Messi and them. They just want to be great footballers. And I just think just the way that it's framed in that way, Hall of Fame is not really like a football term. I just get the sense of the feeling is just not, something that we associate normally with football. There's just been too many class players for there to be just a group of 10 or something, or 20, like where do you put Totti? Where do you put Battistuta? Where do you put, those type of players, Thierry Henry, Trezeguet, Nedved, I don't know where do they.
Don't forget Mario. Don't forget Mario Kempes back in 17.
You know what I mean? Exactly.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Even when you dig deeper, you'll find even more of them, which are like, whoa,
wonderful.
So many players get overlooked.
This is why it doesn't make any sense to me to have a Hall of Fame for the Premier League, because this is what I love about football so much, is that it's the only game in the world that is truly of the world.
Yeah.
So when we talk about, when we have these conversations about a player is world class, and Stu, fair enough if you don't like the term, but
it's just me. It's just me.
No, and very well understood. But my point is that the fact that we can say that Thierry Henry is undoubtedly world class, right? For the vast majority of his career. Why do you need a Hall of Fame? That conversation's enough.
Yeah, exactly. The conversation is
that's
the whole thing.
I think that's a better conversation that the Premier League should have, that they are afraid to have it. And I think that's the reflection.
Herein lies something about football, right? The American national team have got one of the most recognizable centre halves in history, with the ginger beard, Alexi Lalas, or whatever his name was. Not the best centre half in world football by any measure, but he was well known. That's what football's about, isn't it? That's the type of spirit.
And then he lost his mind.
I don't think he's happy.
No, and then Anyan was asking us. I think it's Anyan. If I've got it wrong, pal, I'm sorry. But he was asking us who takes over Messi or Ronaldo. I don't think anyone does. And Mbappe, no chance. Not a hope in hell. He's not got the work ethic. I don't think he's got the work ethic. I don't think he's interested. Haaland is too busy getting girlfriends to his bow. That's all he's interested in. Good striker, great players, but nowhere near Messi or Ronaldo's level.
Stu, now that you've said that, it's actually funny because people always slate Rooney, saying that he could have been on Messi and Ronaldo's level. And I actually say to the contrary, because to be on Messi and Ronaldo's level is not just about talent. It's about being available and never getting injured ever again in your entire life. And these two have literally gone through all of that at the highest level. And there's this thing called luck that you have to sprinkle in there, and this thing called fortune, and playing in the right league at the right place, having the right conditions, and just in general, if you say Rooney should have been on that level, yes, he could have been, but remember, it's a different environment, and as well as that, different players, and it could very well be that he got a kick that he could have not have gotten if he was in another life, So I think that's a harsh one, and I think a lot of people do that, but I think Messi and Ronaldo are on a level which we just will never see, which is something else which we just can't explain, and no one should be really compared to them because it's a tough one.
I think this is the comment you want to talk about.
Is that in reference to American footballers, or are we back to talking about other sports in America? Because if we're talking about the baseball Hall of Fame in America, it's not Americans at all. It's like mostly Hispanic people.
Yeah, Hispanic. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't. When it comes to the Hall of Fames, I only look at one, and it's nothing to do with these sports. But I think I see the point of it. Yeah, it is actually fun enough.
Yeah,
I see some factor. I see a reason for the Hall of Fame. I can understand you're celebrating achievement. I think the greatest achievement is what you succeed as a player with the teams you played for, as overall to just getting a Hall of Fame, like getting inducted into something. But I don't know if the Premier League understand how to do it because they're taking it from a broad aspect. They're just taking it from one sport. I don't know if they are looking as a horizon. I think they're just based on, well, these players from XYZ were absolutely phenomenal. They achieved all this XYZ. Like this guy won like 6 Premier League titles, for example. This guy won 7 FA Cups and 2 league titles. Yeah, that's great. But did you do anything to contribute? You could have just been in the team, but actually done nothing. So I think there's a whole wide spectrum to do a Hall of Fame. I don't particularly agree with it, but I understand the conversation.
Reece, I say that all the time. When we were signing Varane, and people were saying, "Oh, Champions League, Varane, he's run 4 Champions Leagues, not by himself."
Yeah, it's a team. It's a team
Ramos
sport,
by the side of him, or Pepe by the side of him.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that.
Casemiro in front of him, Modric in front of him. Kai's favourite, Benzema, who, by the way, really showed his worth the other day against PSG.
Didn't he,
phenomenal striker.
Yeah, I absolutely adore him.
Also showed his worth yesterday.
Yes,
when he wasn't even there, and his team got pumped. Says it all.
The mental gymnastic Ancelotti had to do to try and do something to that team. He changed like his formation like 5 times and still got trashed.
Psychopath. And speaking of roles, actually, because obviously we do need to discuss about Ralph and Paul Mitchell, but there was a question, funnily enough, by RJ, and whilst my laptop decides it wants to die on me, I'm going to hand this one to Mark to ask you around, but just overall, lads, I already know the answer. He does fuck all, but your thoughts on Darren Fletcher's role at United? And Mark, I'm going to give it to you whilst I grab my laptop charger.
Yeah, no worries. I got it. Listen, I have absolutely no clue what Darren is doing as the technical director. I know there are obviously technical directors at many clubs, but I see him on the sidelines and don't know what he does. But I think this is the epitome of Manchester United. I saw a tweet by Phil Brown today, and I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with it in the fact that I feel that Ralph was sold this dream of becoming a senior consultant, and I don't believe he's going to be given that freedom when he steps up. What is even a senior consultant? He should be coming in potentially as a director of football. But for me, I couldn't honestly tell you what Darren does as the technical director. I don't think it's been very transparent at all. I don't think it's been communicated well at all. And I think that's why that question comes up more often than not. But Stu, what are your thoughts on that, mate?
I'll be really quick here. I haven't got a Scooby. I haven't got a Scooby. If I was a technical director, I would be the basic liaison between Murto and Ranić. And I would be like, Murto, go and do what you've got to do. Ranić, do what you've got to do. Come to me when you've got issues, and I will deal with it. So I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't got a clue. Does he take care of the scouting network? I doubt it. I don't know. I haven't got a clue.
I actually think, to be fair, okay. So firstly, I think people read. Personally, I think we read too much into what backroom staff is doing, because a lot of clubs don't have a clue what these guys are doing. But I also think the other thing is, if we were doing well enough, no one would really ask what his job is over there. Right now, the problem is not winning, right? And then it looks dodgy that Darren Fletcher, because the thing is, right? Let's be honest. If the player that was there was I don't know, a guy from back in the day, like let's say like Andrea Pirlo, let's say he was never a manager and then he was in there, then we'd be like, oh yeah, this guy, cool. But then because it's Darren Fletcher and we're losing and it's easy to make fun of it as well, of course, I don't know what he does. He might do very little, but I think whatever he's doing, he looks like he's trying his best, whatever. But I think I think we read too much into the backroom stuff as a whole, and I think hardly do we have a list of what people do as a job description as this and that. And also, I think director of football, technical, this is quite a new concept to a lot of United fans as well. Anyways, so we haven't really experienced what these guys are doing. But for example, for PSG, Leonardo's at every game busy shouting in his suit somewhere. and doing things. So I mean, I'm sure they're doing something, but I think maybe, yeah, I get the Fletcher thing, but it's probably not his fault. I think he looks like he's trying. He's running really fast. Like he goes up and down. He does the whole thing. Like he's got the thing there. I guess he's doing something technical.
All he needs is a clipboard.
Exactly. Then he's.
I think he was doing the subs the other day, wasn't he? Athletic
says it
Madrid.
all.
I think he was doing the subs. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
just
I
in
don't
contrast,
know.
yeah, exactly. And in contrast to that, we speak about like his role, and obviously there's what's going to happen in the summer. Like they were looking at Paul Mitchell and then Rangnick's interim role. Is it a masquerade? And I just wanted to ask, what do you think about the prospect of Mitchell coming in? And do you think Ralph was given a false promise? And I'm going to go to you on that one, Dave. Like just on your thoughts on that.
Of course, he was given a false promise. They lie to everybody. I don't know why. It's actually becoming like kind of funny to me that this comes up every time, every panel, every YouTube channel, and we keep asking ourselves the same questions. Ooh, did United lie to that guy? Of course they did. They lied to everybody. They lied to Jesse Lingard. They lied to Donny van de Beek. They lied to Cristiano Ronaldo. They lied to Ollie. They made Ollie lie to everybody else in the side. They just lied to everybody. So, yeah, did they promise Ralph Rangnick a load of goods? Of course they did.
That's funny.
Absolutely.
I'll be quite quick because I'm not quite sure what to make of Paul Mitchell, if I'm being honest with you. He's about to be fired, isn't he, by Monaco, according to reports, for whatever reason.
Well, after beating PSG 3-0, maybe they should give him a contract extension.
Yeah.
Although I want Mitchell, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. I know he comes with a huge reputation.
Definitely.
And the work that he's done in the past, he's rejuvenated clubs. Very good with talent spotting, and very good at structuring. But equally, Raniak's very good at structuring. We know all of this because of what he's done at Leipzig and his previous clubs.
Yeah,
and so I agree with David. I think he doesn't know quite what he's got himself into. I don't think he necessarily knows what he's going to be doing after his tenure's up as manager.
Yeah.
Unless he's been instrumental in the Ten Haag appointment, which we don't know. I'm with Mark on this one, and I think it's pretty much a done deal with Ten Haag. I think there's too much coming out in the press now to not have a close.
If not try to divert it in the best way they can.
And so, but we don't know how much Raniak's had to do with that. There's one thing that's very, very clear to me, really clear. If Raniak has a consultancy role or Paul Mitchell comes in, there's got to be a fall guy, and it's either going to be Murto or it's going to be Fletcher, because I don't necessarily see how those pieces fit into a wider jigsaw, because there's just not enough room for 3 or 4 people to be doing a similar role.
I'm going to go on a limb, and I would say, like, just on the back of your point, on the limb, I would say I think Fletcher clearly doesn't know what he's doing. I feel like, and not disrespect him, I don't think he even knows his role. I think realistically for him, I think personally it should be the trio of Ralph, Ten Hag, the manager, and Mitchell. And I think Myrtle and Fletcher should understudy to Ralph and Mitchell for a couple of years. Personally, I think that's how it should be.
If I was Fletcher, if I was the board, I would structure Fletcher over the women's team and the youth teams. So I'd make him technical director of all the youth teams and the women's team, because he's got that experience. The women's team is desperate for development. Now I'm reading something today that we're interested in hiring a deputy football director to go under Murto. So again, what do you do with Fletcher? So I don't buy all of this. So that's what I would do if I was Fletcher.
Guys, what happens to, because there's a whole list of stuff that we need to fire, and United never have the balls to fire anybody. So
I would move.
Is Chris Armas going to be assistant to Ten Hag?
For what I've seen today, if Ten Hag leaves, Ajax, his assistant's coming with him.
Yeah, well, he'll bring his own stuff. Armus or whatever, it'll go to the youth side.
Yeah,
Or-
but why? Why will he go to the youth side?
Well, I would. You've got to like move him aside, haven't you? Again.
That effectively, that is a fair comment.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that comment.
That's quite good, that one, Trev.
Yeah,
Nice.
I completely agree on that one. Fair opinions for
the only thing that saves this football club is if the board wakes up and decides maximizing profit is no longer the priority.
yes.
That's the problem with this football club. It's that they literally, the board says you can win on the pitch and the fans can be happy as long as we maximize profit.
They can coexist, though. But they can coexist, right?
Just quickly, Kai, I actually have two alternatives to that. Now, the cynic in me will tell you if they sell the club. Okay, that's obviously one of them. But actually, I think the Glazers are missing a trick. I feel that they would maximise their profits if they spent wisely and won things.
I agree with you. But they don't see it that way because they don't understand.
And I have
European
no
football.
idea.
They understand the NFL.
But they just need to look at Real Madrid. Like, that's all they need to do. Just look at Madrid and just say,
hang on a second. They looked at Real Madrid and guess what happened?
No. I mean, what I mean by look at Real Madrid, I mean, you see, Real Madrid still have a lot of brains with what they are doing to a certain extent. So, I mean, like, that's what I meant. Yeah, exactly. I know they didn't see what we want them to see when they looked at
the problem.
That's the difference between a football club and a business. And I'm just going to say this, Vicky, male, female, psychopath, serial killer, dug on wheels. Talk about football all you fucking want. Like, nobody can tell you whether to talk about football or not. And if anybody tells you that, just give them that.
Yes.
Can I just offer one note of caution? And all eyes should be on the final selling price of Chelsea, because I promise you now, fellas, that will tell us bad news. Because no fucker's going to come in with 5 billion for us, because that's what we'll be worth. If Chelsea go for 3,
it's going to be 3, right?
Yeah,
that says all really.
That's where we're at right now. It's going to be 3.1, 3.2.
Yeah, so we'll be worth 5 billion as a minimum. Exactly. So herein lies the issue for us. This is a turning point in world football. This sale that Abramovich has got to do, because it's going to open up people's eyes to think, Jesus, if they'll pay. And don't forget, Chelsea is something like 800 million in debt with a 1.5 billion loan. 3 billion, 3.1 actually. I think you're right, Dave. I think it's up to 3.1, and that's not dollars, that's pounds.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of money. But it's a double-edged sword, though, isn't it? Because on one hand, forcing Abramovich to sell is probably a good thing in the long term for football, and especially for football in England, because you have the situation where you have a legitimately bad guy and he shouldn't be involved.
I agree.
Now, counterbalance that with the takeover at Newcastle, and you're kind of getting into the same kind of situation here. But I think that the other side of that sword is that you're right, is that this is opening people's minds more to the idea that just because some guy made several $1 billion doesn't mean that they made it legitimately or ethically.
Yeah.
Has anyone got any dirty stories on the Glazers to throw them under the bus?
I've got so many, man. I've got stacks.
I'm sure we'll find something.
Well, actually, here's another problem. Again,
the best way to find out is ask Darcy. She's involved in the foundation.
You'll be able to tell us, David. If I'm right in saying, NFL owners do not relinquish the franchise. They won't relinquish it, will they?
What do you mean?
No.
They won't give it up. They won't give up, but they won't sell a franchise in NFL, will they?
No, they won't. They won't sell it. Occasionally they are sold.
But
it's not
very rarely.
not often. It's not often.
Yeah.
One of the last times. One of the last times it happened was actually from my hometown NFL team, and it was Randy Lerner. Remember the American that bought Villa? He used the money from the NFL sale to buy Aston Villa. So it was essentially for him, it was kind of like for like. It was like, oh, I'll sell this one, I'll buy this one. The problem with the NFL is, and this is exactly why they wanted the Super League, is because the ecosystem is a closed environment, they don't stand the opportunity to lose. And that's what these guys are all about. It's I want to put a bunch of money in and guarantee profit. So
and that's why turfing the Glazers out, it's going to be almost impossible.
Right.
Because they don't sell, do they? That was kind of my point. That's the parallel I was getting at.
But to make matters even worse is that they don't understand how this league works. They don't understand how European football works. They want to run it like an NFL team. And and this is the part that just disgusts me on a daily basis thinking about it, is that instead of just learning, right? Learning what the Premier League's all about and learning what football's about, they'd rather just change the rules to suit themselves.
And you know, guys, the funny thing is as well, if you look at just, you know, yes, the whole Abramovich thing where he got his money, that's a thing. But actually, I'm looking at him like personally, right? He decided, okay, let me buy a club. And then at the same time, he said, how can I get the most success out of this? And he went about coming up with a model and a formula, which, because you can see when he's at games that he's enjoying winning these things and all of this stuff. And it's just a weird thing when I've seen how kind of like a personal crusade of his with whatever money he has and whatever has turned into so much success. But then when you look at someone like, you know, like the Glazers, for example, they just can't look at, like you're saying, can't learn and say, oh, okay, cool. Right. What is this football thing here? But also what comes with it is the passion. I mean, Abramovich is European, so he's got the football thing. You know, I'm sure he always used to watch football, loves football. And then that's why he's not
European anymore.
Yeah, yes, fair enough. Yes, but I mean,
Manchester Globetrotters eventually. Don't worry.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you think of like the Glazers, you can't even identify the passion for football, and that is what's really hurting all of us. Because, like David, like you, I can see that you are helpless. You're like, yeah, but of course, yeah, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, but yeah, Ten Haag. Yeah,
I speak with Keane about it all the time.
Sorry, cut you there, Dave. I have to applaud this comment first. I have to applaud this comment. Avram Glazer doesn't give anyone up. You'll need to look at his haircut. Excellent comment, Vicky. That's unanimous all round. Brilliant.
I grew up in the States, and I know how these guys operate, and it's fascinating to me because there's a component of it where they will do things, they will pull levers, and they will push buttons that your average, everyday British, English, European football fan says to themselves, that's impossible. They couldn't possibly do that. They do it. Every single thing that you guys say to yourselves, that's not how football works. You can't do that. They do all of it. I promise you. Yeah. And that's it's kind of how they continue to get away with it. Because people are just pish-posh it all the time. We're like, no. They couldn't have guaranteed the captaincy in Harry Maguire's contract. I promise you they did. I promise.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think that's the biggest, for me, that lack of passion about the game, which actually is what we all identify with. So we all think to ourselves, if we owned a club, what would we do?
Right.
And then we look at them and we're like, but how, like you're saying, how can you do that? Do you not want to be like them? Like, you know, you look at Liverpool, and if I was an owner of United, I would be absolutely fuming every day. I would be getting as many people coming to say, please tell me, how can we make this better? But I know for a fact, they don't even care. Like, if we get trashed 5-0, they're just like, have a look at the stock real quick. All right, cool. We're okay. Let's move on.
Just it. You know. And that's kind of that's the craziest thing about Abramovich, right? Is because while he might be a really bad human being, and while he might really need to go,
brilliant owner.
The truth remains he was a wonderful owner.
Exactly. That's the thing.
You can't argue, right? You can't argue with that.
The passion was there. You could see he loved the game for what he wanted to win
And he hired people to do a job and let them do their job.
Yeah, also.
The one thing that about the Abramovich era for me, from when he came in 2003 to potentially ending now, the one thing Abramovich has done is, yes, you could possibly say he's a little bit scummy. Yes, you could say he's overstretched the mark in some aspects. But the one thing he has done for Chelsea is he made Chelsea a power. He made Chelsea relevant in the modern game, and he made people have a different opinion on football owners because, yes, he is a bit of a dickhead, but he is probably the best owner in Premier League history. In terms of commitment to Chelsea, he probably is the best owner, period.
Do you know what he reminds me of? You know, like when you're watching a movie, one of those movies with the gangsters, like with the mafia, with the mob or whatever, there's always like a football game in the background.
Yeah,
right? And those guys,
he's always there watching.
Exactly, like you're in the depths of somewhere, some really shady place, and there's a football game in the background, and they're discussing like they're gonna murder someone hardcore,
and it's always United.
Yeah, so I feel like Abramovich is like a version of one of those guys who really would have. They'll be doing something super shady with football in the background because they really love football, and then they got to own a club, so they just want to win. And even though they're shady, you can still see that they've got some sort of a passion towards it. So it's, I don't know, it's a weird thing, but I just think we need someone who loves football like us, because that's what's been taken out of our club. Like, just, you know.
And if you can't have that, at minimum, have somebody who will hire the right people and get out of their way.
Yes.
Yeah. Like somebody who'll come in, just happily just give a little bit of money here and then United can still get things done with or without spending money. It just takes competent people understand the decisions, which is, funnily enough, as we are closing towards the end of the show, I do have one final Whit Brown question for the panel that they might like to answer. They might just go pass. But I'm going to start with Mark. And the question is, in the summer, obviously it's fair few months down the line, but just in general, in the summer, if you would like to see 3 things happen at United this summer, doesn't matter what order, 3 things in general, what would you like to see happen this summer going forward?
Well, obviously we're going to get a manager, so that won't be one of mine. But I'd like to see Ralph become the director of football. If we're not going to get someone like Paul Mitchell, we passed on Paul Mitchell before he went to Spurs. When he was leaving Spurs, we passed on who's the one that is at Spurs now from Juve, Fabio
Paratici.
Yeah, thank you. And one or two others. We're not going to be doing. We're not going to be going after anyone. And fundamentally, if listen, Ralph, even up until this day, is one of the best directors of football that there is. And if I'd absolutely love him to be pushed up to that role, or even as a senior consultant, whatever the fuck you want to call it, but actually given the free rein to do what he needs to do, because I do have a lot of belief in the players that he would bring in. I do believe that, and we would move away from that notion of commercial business from a player perspective, and that needs to happen. We need to have a massive clear out, and again, this is something that has to change too. There's so many players on the books that are on massive wages, that have wanted to leave for many seasons, that haven't played for many seasons, whatever that may be. We have to have a huge cull. And then finally, obviously we always see a few signings come in, maybe not enough from a United perspective. We always spend a good amount of money as well, maybe not enough from some fans' perspective, but we absolutely have to spend the money on the correct players now. Absolutely.
I agree. And the good thing for us is, to those if you may not know, but this is something for people in general, the transfer window, as we do know, is open July 1st until August 31st. The season starts on August 6th, but Premier League clubs can officially sign players from June 9th and register in July 1st. So there is a full 30 days, but if you're Man United, you'll be in where I'm going to be in about an hour and a half. You'll be in your bed. But that's pretty much the guess.
Last week.
We got Mark's exactly. We got Mark's 3 very good answers. Stu, yourself, the same as Mark's question. 3 things you would like to see happen in the summer.
I've only got one. I would like to see the club engulfed in common sense. Period. That's all I would like.
Love that. I love that. I love that.
So that's my only one.
Absolutely. And of course, our two guests from live in what I would like to call one of the free lands of football.
Yes.
I'm going to go to you, Kai, first. Three things, or Stu battered it out to quote an American sport, hit it a home run. So, Kai, for yourself, choice.
To be honest, mine is along the same lines, but I was going to say I would just like to see someone, one figurehead, one person, before the season starts, stand up, right at the beginning, like right at the end of the season, stand up and say, this is us, this is our direction, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to aim to do, whether it's young players, whether it's rebuilding, whether it's this, we are letting go of ex-players, and that's what I just want to, other clubs have someone who says one time the direction which they're going, and we know who is responsible for it. So there's accountability. Because, for example, even for PSG, there's accountability. Leonardo's accountable. So whether it's going wrong or right, he is standing up there every day. You can see exactly who the problem of the project is, and then they will replace him if they need to. But essentially, he is the person who has said, I'm taking the club in this direction. And then it's all on me. So if you want to ask any questions, it's me. If why have you signed this player? It's on me. I just want to see that from United, and that's common sense, and that will not happen. Thank you, Stu.
Yeah, I think on the back of Stu's point, completely elaborative, completely understood, and well, he's just pitched a perfect game. And David, yourself, I'm loving this. David, yourself, 3-1, or just go on an absolute shithouse rant because your architecture is great. I'm sure you can come up with an architectural response. So the floor is yours.
Well, the first thing that I would like to see United do is appoint a competent, proven director of football with the very specific agreement that the board will give them a budget and get the fuck out of his way. That needs to be crystal clear for everybody, most importantly, the DOF.
Yes.
After that, I'd like to see the appointment of a manager, obviously to work directly under that person, but as Mark said, that's going to happen anyways, so we can kind of knock that one off the books. And the only other thing that I really need to see from United is I need to see somebody take Scott McUseless McTominay and Harry Maguire and bin them somewhere far the fuck away so I never have to watch either one of them again.
Highly unlikely.
I like that. I absolutely like that. So a couple of comments before we go. So Matt's going, 3 things that will happen this summer. Maguire, a new contract. I hate you. Give Maguire the vice captaincy along with the captaincy and buy Thomas Muller. See, I hate the first option. I would kill the second option, but the third option, I would drop to my knees for Thomas Muller. And I honestly don't care. I don't care if the fact that he's over 30. I would. If you don't rate Thomas Muller, you don't know football. And that's the end of it. And Trevor's comment, great panel tonight, race, but it was a close shave from Marcus, best contributor. Seriously, great show. Well, Trevor, as always, and I'm going to go on because I can say whatever I want. You're still a cheeky bastard, but that's what I like about you. That's what I like about you. And of course, closing comment from me, great show, lovely panel, great live chat. I'm sorry I didn't get to a lot of your comments tonight, but we have been bouncing off the back of them, which is what I've done instead. I think that was far easier than just going popping up because obviously my laptop's like our defence. It's been shite. But in retrospect, it's been a great panel with these guys. 1 hour, 33 minutes. We could go on for ages, but David would take an axe to my skull. He would literally come over here and put an axe to me. You just know he would. But I'm coming
to Scotland next week, so...
Yeah, I'm going to look for the quickest plane. I think Portugal's got some good spots at the minute. I might hit Mira. I might, who knows? I'll just hide from Dave. But in this, no, I wouldn't. I like Dave. Dave's cool.
Come on, Dave looks chilled. Come on.
I like Dave. That's one of Dave's stadiums right there.
Yeah,
Dave probably does some vegetables.
That is your work. That is your work. Stadium by Dave, Old Trafford. No guy. But guys, as we're coming to the end of the show, obviously this has been Devil's Advocate on the Weekly Armchair Sports Talk. If you can give us a like, share and subscribe on the video, go and give us a follow on our Twitter page. But for our panel, could you please shout out where we can find you, before I play that absolutely smoking hot intro as an outro as we leave. So, Mark, where can we find you besides Gillette?
Behave. I'll have to pay. I owe him a lot of money, Trevor. He's been kind to me tonight. I said I'd pay him a tenner for each one, so that's me out of pocket. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. Quite simple, at Mark Biggs.
Yeah, you can abuse me on Twitter at Stu Woolley if you want.
Yeah, well, I'm sure everyone can read over here, but at _. I mean, I had to say underscore. You guys made me say the full thing. I mean, it's fine though. I don't know why we had to go through this redundancy, Reese, but it's okay. I'm gonna allow you for today. It's okay. My first time here, so
Put it this way: I do things differently. I do things completely off the train. And of course, Dave, where can we find you?
You can find me at Yankee De Jong, and Kai is probably the only person here who will understand my avatar photo.
I will find it when I see it. I do not see it right now. But
Yeah.
I think that was a sly way of saying Kai will follow me now. I'll see
you. Yes,
no, it wasn't slide. You don't even have to follow me. I mean,
I'm following you, bro. It's happening.
Up to you, man.
No, it's okay.
But you'll appreciate the Abby photo.
No, you don't have to explain, Dave. I like you, bro. I'll follow you. Hi, brother. Like, got you, bro. Follow. I've got you, bro.
Judging by this comment, guys, if you're open to a position on the Talk of the League podcast alongside Jamie, depending on how this season goes, we may need a new podcast host, as our resident Everton fan could be as quote-unquote in a ditch. This has been Devil's Advocate. This has been five guys chatting football. Depends on your view on the modern game. But obviously, this has been Devil's Advocate. This is Weekly Armchair Sports Talk. I'm an absolute bastard, but I don't care. I love it. These guys are quality. Enjoy your night. And if you didn't see the intro, now you're going to see again as an outro. Night, folks.